In the quantum field, nothing is missing. Every dream you've carried in your heart, every vision you've pictured in your mind, every desire you've whispered when no one was listening, it already exists. Not as a faint possibility or a someday hope, but as a completed form vibrating right now in another layer of reality. You are not creating something new out of nothing. You are aligning yourself with what is already alive, already present, already waiting for you to meet it. The moment you truly understand this, the struggle begins to dissolve. The chase ends not because you've given up, but because you realize there was never anything to chase. Most of us are taught to believe that manifestation is about building step by step, brick by brick, until one day we finally arrive at what we want. But that belief itself creates distance. It assumes that the life you desire is outside of you, separated by time, effort, and endless obstacles. The truth is far more radical and far more liberating. The life you want has already been created. It has already been woven into the fabric of the field. All you are doing now is learning how to tune yourself to it, the same way you tune a radio to the frequency of a station that is already broadcasting. When you begin to see it this way, the pressure to force everything into place begins to ease. You realize you don't need to push the universe into giving you something. You don't need to convince reality that you are worthy. Worthiness was never the barrier. Alignment is the key. And alignment happens the moment your inner state begins to resonate with the reality you are calling in. Think of how quickly you can shift your energy. A single breath can move you from panic to calm. A single thought can move you from doubt to possibility. A single choice can anchor you in expansion instead of contraction. These small shifts ripple into the field, and the field responds instantly. It doesn't take years for the vibration to match. The alignment is immediate. The only variable is how long you hold that resonance, how steadily you can stay coherent with the version of yourself who is already living what you desire. Once you grasp this truth, waiting no longer feels like waiting. Instead, it feels like attuning. Every day becomes an opportunity to live a little more as the self who already has it all. You may still be in the process of letting go of the old identity, but you can trust that the new one is not ahead of you. It's here, in the same space, humming on a frequency, just waiting for you to notice. And if these words resonate with you, if you feel that flicker of recognition in your chest, pause and subscribe. This channel exists to remind you that your shift is already here, and I don't want you to miss the next step in your journey. Waiting is one of the greatest illusions on the path of manifestation. From the perspective of the human mind, everything unfolds in time. You plant a seed, and you wait for it to grow. You train for years, and only then do you master a skill. This conditioning convinces us that manifestation must work the same way, that desires take years of effort, trial, and patience before they can become real. But the quantum field does not play by the rules of time. In the field, there is no waiting. The response is immediate. The moment your energy locks into coherence, the reality you have been calling in begins to arrange itself without delay. The difficulty is that the mind cannot perceive this instant response because it measures everything in steps, sequences, and visible results. When nothing appears to be happening right away, doubt creeps in. You tell yourself, if it were really working, I'd see evidence by now. But the field does not respond to impatience or doubt. It responds to the frequency you hold consistently. When coherence is achieved, the manifestation is already yours. It may take a short while for the physical world to reorganize and reveal it, but in the quantum sense, the shift has already occurred. Think of light traveling across space. The star may have already exploded, but the light still takes years to reach your eyes. Does that mean the explosion hasn't happened yet? Of course not. The event is complete. You are simply catching up to it in your own frame of time. Manifestation works the same way. The reality exists the moment your energy aligns, and what you call waiting is simply the time it takes for your human senses to perceive the results. This is why faith is such a powerful force. Faith is not blind hope. It is the ability to trust what is already done before the evidence arrives. It is choosing to hold the vibration steady even when the outer world hasn't caught up yet. When you collapse back into doubt, you pull yourself out of alignment, not because the field failed, but because you stopped holding the signal long enough for it to stabilize. The illusion of waiting dissolves when you realize that every moment you spend aligning is not wasted time. It is the manifestation itself. The joy you feel while embodying the new version of you is already part of the reward. The calm you cultivate when you trust the process is already evidence of the shift. The life you want is not hiding in the future. It is layered over the present, waiting for you to notice that it has been here all along. Once you understand this, you stop asking, "When will it happen?" and begin living as though it has already happened. Because in the only reality that matters, the quantum reality, it has. Time may delay your eyes from seeing it, but the field has already answered. The waiting was never real. Only alignment is. So much of what we are taught about success is built on effort. Work harder, push more, sacrifice longer, and eventually, you'll be rewarded. This belief system runs deep, and it shapes how we approach everything, including manifestation. We assume that if we want something badly enough, we must grind our way into it, forcing reality to respond. But the quantum field does not respond to effort. It responds to alignment. You don't earn your desires by striving. You allow them by tuning into the vibration of the version of yourself who already has them. Think about how a radio works. You can twist the dial as frantically as you want, but until you land on the right frequency, the song you're searching for will remain static. Manifestation works exactly the same way. You can hustle endlessly, straining and forcing, but until you match the energy of the timeline where your desire already exists, you will only hear noise. The field doesn't reward how much effort you pour in. It simply reflects coherence. This is why some people seem to create success with ease while others struggle for years. It's not about intelligence or luck. It's about vibration. Those who align with the frequency of abundance, of love, of freedom, naturally allow it into their lives. They move with an inner clarity that magnetizes the right opportunities. Meanwhile, those who grind without alignment may achieve temporary wins, but the effort never ends, because the frequency they hold is lack, the belief that they must fight to survive. Alignment is not passive. It requires conscious choice. It asks you to imagine the self who already has what you desire and begin to embody that version now. If your desire is financial freedom, alignment means living with the mindset of someone who trusts money flows rather than clinging to every dollar in fear. If your desire is love, alignment means radiating the worthiness of someone who knows they are lovable rather than chasing affection from a place of emptiness. This is not pretending. It is practicing resonance with a frequency that already exists in the field. The beauty of alignment is that it collapses time. Effort is linear. You climb step by step, often exhausted by the climb. Alignment is quantum. You shift directly into the reality where the desire already lives. And once you stabilize there, the field organizes itself around you. The right people appear, the right opportunities open, and the right ideas flow, not because you forced them into place, but because coherence left the field no choice but to respond. Striving alone will only wear you down. Alignment, however, renews you. It gives you energy instead of draining it. And when you begin to live from the vibration of the self who already has what you seek, the struggle falls away. The desires that once felt distant begin to feel inevitable. The field doesn't care how hard you've worked. It only cares how purely you resonate. And when you align, everything else follows. There comes a moment in every journey of manifestation where the static clears, the striving stops, the endless questions quiet. Instead of wondering when it will happen or doubting if you're capable, something within you settles, your energy stabilizes, and in that instant, everything you've been calling in begins to come into view, not because it just appeared, but because you finally tuned to it. The truth is, your desires have always been there. The quantum field holds every version of reality, every possible outcome, every completed form of the dream you carry. Nothing is created in the future, it already exists. What changes is your resonance. When your energy wavers, you flicker between timelines, unable to hold the signal long enough for reality to collapse into coherence. But when you stabilize, when your vibration steadies like a tuning fork finally locking into its note, the reality that once felt invisible starts to become undeniable. This is resonance. It is not the universe suddenly deciding you are worthy. It is not chance or coincidence. It is you at last, becoming an energetic match to the life you have been asking for. Think of it like a hidden image in a puzzle. Stare too closely and it seems random. Step back, adjust your perspective, and suddenly the image pops into view. The puzzle didn't change. You did. Resonance works the same way. At this moment, life begins to feel orchestrated. The conversations you overhear carry the exact message you needed. Numbers repeat across your day like signposts. Opportunities align with uncanny timing. And perhaps most importantly, your inner world shifts. You no longer feel like someone trying to reach for something outside yourself. You feel like someone remembering who you already are. The path no longer feels like a climb. It feels like recognition. The beauty of resonance is that it doesn't require perfection. You don't need to hold an unbroken state of joy or eliminate every trace of doubt. Resonance asks for steadiness, not flawlessness. It's about consistently choosing the vibration of the self who already lives in the reality you desire. Each choice you make from that place reinforces the signal until it becomes the dominant frequency of your life. And when resonance locks in, the field has no choice but to mirror it. That is when manifestations begin to unfold not as isolated wins, but as a cascade of alignment. The relationships, the opportunities, the resources, the inspiration, they begin to cluster around you, pulled in by the magnet of your coherence. What once felt like hard work suddenly feels like flow, and what once felt distant suddenly feels inevitable. The moment of resonance is the threshold. It is the instant when possibility hardens into form, when what was once only imagined becomes what you now inhabit. It is the most natural miracle of all, not because reality has changed, but because you have tuned yourself to finally see it. There is a stage in manifestation where reality begins to feel enchanted. It is the moment when synchronicities no longer appear as rare curiosities, but as a constant stream flowing through your days. You notice numbers repeating everywhere you look, as though the universe is leaving breadcrumbs across your path. Ideas come to you with startling clarity, arriving at just the right time to solve a problem or spark a new direction. People you haven't spoken to in years suddenly reach out, carrying messages, opportunities, or connections that fit perfectly with what you've been calling in. This isn't luck. This is the sign of immediate access. It is the quantum field showing you that the gate is open. When your energy stabilizes in resonance, reality rearranges itself with uncanny precision. What felt like a closed system begins to reveal cracks of light, and through those cracks flows the evidence that everything you've been aligning with is already within reach. Synchronicities multiply not because they were absent before, but because your perception has sharpened. You have tuned yourself to the frequency where these connections are obvious. What once felt like coincidence now feels like confirmation. This stage can feel almost surreal. You think of someone and they call. You set an intention in the morning, and by evening, a conversation or a chance encounter reflects it back to you word for word. It can feel like you are in dialogue with the universe itself, exchanging signals in real time. And in a sense, you are. The field is alive, responsive, and it cannot help but mirror back the coherence you have achieved. But it's important to remember that these signs are not the destination. They are markers along the path, guiding you forward, reminding you that alignment is real and that you are already inside the frequency of your desire. The temptation is to obsess over them, to cling to every repeating number or chance event as if it holds the entire secret. Yet the true power is in recognizing them for what they are, signals of access, not the source of fulfillment. When you treat these synchronicities as confirmations instead of lifelines, you deepen your trust. You no longer grasp for signs to prove it's working. You allow them to flow, smiling at the elegance of the timing, and continuing to walk as the self who already lives inside the reality you are manifesting. In this way, the signs amplify. They begin to arrive faster, clearer, and with greater precision because you are not scrambling for proof. You are receiving with grace. Signs of immediate access are a reminder that manifestation is not distant. It is happening here and now, in every perfectly timed detail. The more you notice, the more you realize that the gate was never locked. It was always open. All you needed was the resonance to walk through. And now, with synchronicities multiplying and opportunities converging, you are already on the other side. There comes a moment in manifestation when the energy you have been aligning with begins to flood your life. At first, it can feel overwhelming, as though everything is happening all at once. Opportunities arrive from every direction. Conversations open new doors. Money begins to flow in unexpected ways. People show up to support you, and ideas strike with such clarity that you can barely keep up with them. It feels as if the universe suddenly turned on a faucet and let abundance rush into every corner of your reality. But in truth, you are not receiving something new. You are simply receiving the fullness that has always been there. The quantum field has never withheld from you. Every version of your life, every possibility, every dream, every outcome has always existed in parallel, waiting for you to align with it. For years, you may have been tuned to scarcity, lack, or struggle, and so that was the reality reflected back to you. When you finally shift into coherence with abundance, what once felt hidden comes pouring in. It doesn't arrive gradually because it was never being built piece by piece. It was always complete. You are simply opening your hands wide enough to receive it all at once. Overflow can feel exhilarating, but it can also be disorienting. The human mind is used to incremental progress. It expects a slow climb, one step at a time. When abundance arrives suddenly, the mind doesn't know how to process it. You may feel unprepared, as if you're not ready to hold it all. But this feeling is not a warning, it's expansion. The flood of manifestation stretches your capacity to receive, teaching you that the old limits no longer apply. This is why overflow is such a powerful teacher. It shows you that reality does not trickle. It mirrors your vibration in full. If you align with lack, you experience lack consistently. If you align with overflow, you experience abundance in a way that feels unstoppable. The intensity of this phase is not because the universe is overwhelming you. It is because you are expanding into the truth of how much has always been available. The key is to breathe into it rather than resist it. Instead of shrinking in fear, remind yourself that this is not too much. This is what alignment looks like when the field responds without distortion. You are not losing control. You are gaining capacity. The more you relax into overflow, the more gracefully you can navigate it. What once felt like too many opportunities now feels like freedom. What once felt like too much responsibility now feels like empowerment. The experience of overflow is a reminder that your desires were never scattered across time. They were always gathered, complete, and waiting. And the moment you opened fully to alignment, they arrived as one coherent wave. Overflow is not chaos, it is confirmation. You are standing inside the fullness of the life that was always meant for you. When abundance begins to flow into your life, the question is no longer whether manifestation works. The question becomes, can you hold it? Can you allow the new opportunities, the wealth, the relationships, and the expansion to settle into your reality without slipping back into the old patterns of fear and scarcity? This is where capacity comes in. To live inside abundance, you must expand your ability to receive it. You must embody the version of you who can move with ease in overflow rather than scrambling to manage it from the vibration of lack. The truth is, many people sabotage their manifestations not because they can't attract them, but because they can't hold them. They receive love and push it away with distrust. They attract wealth and spend it from fear rather than confidence. They step into new opportunities and immediately shrink, doubting whether they belong. This is not failure. It is simply a sign that the outer world shifted faster than their inner capacity. The field will always mirror the frequency you stabilize in. If you want to keep abundance flowing, you must grow into the self who knows how to live there. Expanding your capacity doesn't mean working harder or piling on more responsibility. It means adjusting your identity to match the new reality. Ask yourself, how would the version of me who feels safe in abundance think? How would they spend their time? How would they handle challenges? How would they walk into a room? How would they speak? How would they trust? Then begin to embody that now, even in small ways. Every choice you make from that expanded self stretches your capacity to hold more. Think of it like building a container. If you pour water into a cup that's too small, it overflows and spills away. But if you expand the container, you can hold more without losing a drop. Your nervous system is the container for your manifestations. If you don't feel safe in overflow, your body and mind will unconsciously push opportunities away to protect you. But if you train yourself to expand through presence, trust, and embodiment, you teach your system that abundance is not a threat. It is your new normal. This is why grounding practices matter so much in this phase. Stillness, breath, movement, reflection, all of these expand your capacity to stay calm in expansion. Instead of scrambling, you learn to flow. Instead of fearing loss, you settle into the truth that more is always available. The shift is not in how much you can get, but in how much you can hold without collapsing back into old patterns. When you expand your capacity, you stop treating abundance like a rare visitor you must cling to. You begin to live as someone who belongs in it. The money, the love, the opportunities no longer feel overwhelming. They feel natural, steady, inevitable. And in that state, the flow continues, not because you're chasing it, but because you've become the person who can hold it with ease. There is a stage in every transformation where what once amazed you begins to feel natural. At first, the synchronicities and opportunities arrive with so much precision that they leave you stunned. You can hardly believe that life is moving in such perfect alignment. Each conversation, each opening, each flow of abundance feels miraculous. But as you continue to live in coherence, something subtle happens. The extraordinary becomes ordinary. The miracle stops feeling like a rare event and begins to feel like the natural rhythm of your days. This shift is not about losing the magic, it is about becoming it. When you first enter alignment, it feels like life is showering you with gifts from outside yourself. But in truth, the coherence was always within you. The field simply mirrored it back. As you stabilize, you stop looking outward for validation because you realize that the miraculous was never random. It was the inevitable reflection of your frequency. At first, this normalcy can feel almost strange. You might catch yourself thinking, why doesn't this amaze me the way it used to? But that question itself is proof of your growth. The extraordinary feels ordinary now because you are living in the vibration where it has always existed. You are no longer visiting abundance like a guest. You are living inside it as a resident. What once felt like a breakthrough now feels like breathing. This stage is powerful because it reveals the depth of your integration. When something becomes normal, it means it is no longer fragile. You don't have to cling to it or worry that it might vanish, because it is woven into who you are. Money flowing in doesn't shock you, it feels expected. Love and support don't surprise you, they feel steady. Opportunities don't feel like rare chances, they feel like natural extensions of your alignment. This is not arrogance, it is coherence. Settling into normalcy also frees you from the cycle of highs and lows. You no longer ride the roller coaster of chasing miracles and then fearing their loss. Instead, you walk steadily, knowing that what once felt miraculous will continue to meet you because it is simply your state of being now. You stop craving drama because you don't need it to prove that life is working in your favor. You stop begging for signs because you recognize yourself as the sign. The danger here is underestimating the power of this stage. Some people grow bored and start reaching for struggle again, thinking that excitement must come from the chase. But the real mastery is in learning to rest in the ease of flow, to let normalcy be proof of stability rather than a lack of magic. This is the life you once longed for. The fact that it feels ordinary now is the clearest evidence that you've shifted. The settling into normalcy is not the end of the miracle. It is the deepest embodiment of it. You are not losing wonder. You are living as the wonder. And from here, the field can only reflect more of the same, because you have finally made coherence your home. There comes a point in this journey where the questions fall away. You no longer wake up wondering if the field has heard you. You no longer scan your days for proof that things are moving. The doubt that once made you second-guess every choice has gone quiet. You stop asking if it's working because deep down, you already know. The shift has happened and you can feel it in every part of your being. You're not waiting for manifestation anymore, you're walking inside it. At this stage, life feels less like a pursuit and more like a conversation. The quantum field mirrors you so consistently that you don't need to test it, check it, or push for results. You live in alignment and reality responds in full. Opportunities meet you without struggle. People arrive in your orbit who reflect your expanded energy. The flow of events seems orchestrated, not because the universe is favoring you, but because you have finally become coherent with the reality you always desired. It doesn't mean challenges disappear completely, but they no longer destabilize you. Instead of collapsing into fear, you recognize them as part of the rhythm of expansion. You handle them with the steadiness of someone who trusts their foundation. The very fact that you respond differently proves the shift. What used to feel like turbulence now feels like adjustment, like the fine-tuning of a system that is already working perfectly. The most profound part of this stage is how natural it feels. What once seemed miraculous has become the texture of your daily life. Abundance doesn't feel like an unexpected gift, it feels like a natural flow. Love doesn't feel like a lucky accident, it feels like a steady reflection of who you are. Peace no longer feels fragile, it feels unshakable. The extraordinary has become ordinary, not because it has lost its beauty, but because you have finally stepped into the timeline where it always existed. And now, there is a different kind of gratitude. Quieter, but deeper. You don't thank the universe with desperation, hoping it hears you. You thank it with reverence, knowing you are already inside the answer. You recognize that manifestation was never about waiting for life to deliver. It was always about tuning yourself to the version of reality that was already complete. The field responds in full, not to your effort, but to your embodiment. This is the moment when you stop chasing, stop doubting, stop bargaining. You live as the evidence. You are the signal. And the more you walk in this truth, the more life reflects it without resistance. Manifestation is no longer something you practice. It is who you are. And if you feel yourself stepping into this resonance, anchor it now by leaving a comment. I'm living inside my manifestation. Let it be your declaration, your signal to the field that the shift is complete.